And I want every vegan to know that there are massive risks with limiting your diet in that way. There are very beneficial elements of meat and dairy and eggs, as the Western Aid Prize Foundation advocates for, that are crucial to the way your brain functions and the way your hormones impact your organs and allow your body to work. And I'm very angry that vegans are not being told this information. And they're also not being advised to get their blood levels tested for these vitamins and these minerals. And across the board, I'm very angry that food in general in the United States and around the world is not being regulated for these heavy metals and toxins and pesticides. They're not testing. And if I can test, if I can spend a couple $1,000s and test and find these things in food or in my son's body, anybody can. The federal government, for sure, that has the $7.2 billion budget for the FDA, can test and identify, find the source, and take steps to eliminate these foreign food.
From the Weston A. Price Foundation, welcome to the Wise Traditions podcast for wise traditions in food, farming, and the healing arts. We are your source for scientific knowledge and traditional wisdom to help you achieve optimal health. And now here is our host and producer, Hilda Labrada Gore.
Hey, Hilda here. School lunches with more toxins than nutrients. The implications of glyphosate in high concentrations in childhood vaccines, and the connections between all of the above and our physical and mental health and well-being. This is episode 548, and our guest today is Zen Honeycutt, the founder and the executive director of Moms Across America. Zen has been a longtime advocate for cleaning up our food system, including eliminating GMOs and pesticides from our diets. When she came into DC recently, we met for an impromptu interview where she connected the dots between these problematic toxins in our food and in our environment, on our children's physical health and mental health. Zen today shares her passion for all of the above and how she's been affected in a very profound and personal way. She sounds the alarm about our need to take serious action to eliminate glyphosate and other toxins from our food and even from our vaccines. And she gives us concrete action steps for doing so in our homes, our communities, and on a larger scale. Talk about an activist. Before we get into the conversation, are you a parent, a would-be parent, a grandparent, or an adult interested in children's health? Nourishing Our Children is a project of the Weston A. Price Foundation, launched in 2005 with a focus on timeless principles for supporting learning, behavior, and health through optimal nutrition. Nourishing Our Children has an active closed Facebook group that offers support on how to nourish and not merely feed our children. If you join, you'll have a complimentary access to the group focused on adults for a simple donation of only $5 for the calendar year. The moderators ensure that no question goes unanswered. So go to nourishingourchildren.org/groups to find out more. Again, that is nourishingourchildren.org/groups to learn how to join. And here is a quick testimonial. I am a first-time mom of a soon-to-be 9-month-old and a member of the Nourishing Our Children's private Facebook group. I began with the Nourishing Traditions book of baby and child care, but I felt that I needed encouragement and support implementing some of the principles that I read about in there and the recommended food practices. So joining this group became instrumental for me as it helped me navigate the barriers that I had to giving my baby his first nourishing foods. I've had so many questions and have been so grateful for the clarifications and answers I've received. My questions are always answered, and I'd say rather promptly as well. Thank you, Nourishing Our Children. This is a testimony from Catherine Jimenez. This is Hilda Labrada Gore, and you're listening to Wise Traditions. Welcome to Wise Traditions, Zen.
Thank you, Hilda. Thank you for having me.
You are an amazing activist, and defender of children's health, and I'm so glad that you came downtown for this latest commission report release. Now, just to be clear, the Weston A. Price Foundation is not necessarily super MAHA aligned, but they've been at the forefront of this movement for well-being, for 25 years now. So tell us, we want to get from you kind of a bird's eye view of what's been happening in the MAHA movement related to vaccines, pesticides, and children's health. So where do you want to start?
Well, I'd like to start with the fact that the Weston A. Price Foundation is really one of the reasons for the MAHA movement, I would say, along with Moms Across America and many other groups that have been working very hard, the moms and the parents that have been speaking out about how their children have been harmed from toxins and diet issues, the lack of nutrition, the pesticides and the toxins in the food supply for decades now, right?
Right.
And many of them are very clear about why their children have autism or allergies or autoimmune issues, asthma, all of that, as are our moms. And we're all in this together. So, I really want to thank the Weston A. Price Foundation that has just been champions for good health and good eating for a very long time. So that is first and foremost. And the MAHA movement is a result, I believe, a grassroots result of all of those people who have been speaking up about health, like yourself, for a very long time. And it's actually quite miraculous, I would have to say. It is, think about a grassroots movement of, for moms, we've been creating healthy communities, right? That's been our goal, is create healthy. That's basically make America healthy again, right? For 13 years, and many other groups have been doing the same thing. You've been advocating, Weston A. Price chapters. People have been working tirelessly to spread the word about where they can buy local food, where they can connect with other people that are like-minded, who want to do something else besides vaccines, right? Herbal remedies and other things. Hey, that type of movement is now actually in the White House.
I know.
The MAHA movement is an actual governmental, entity. So that is miraculous. And that just shows the power of moms and parents and people, health advocates that have been speaking up for decades.
Yes.
And so
I want to interject. Bobby Kennedy was a keynote speaker at the Weston A. Price Foundation conference just a few years ago. Yes. But this was a time, Zen, before it all bubbled up completely to the surface, where people regarded his advocacy for children's health and the Weston A. Price Foundation as kind of fringe. We were on the edge, oh, you guys are kind of weird. And now to see him as the head of HHS and in such an influential position, but you're right, it didn't come out of nowhere. It is literally a grassroots movement that has bubbled up to the top.
It is. That's exactly what has happened. So I think every single Weston A. Price Foundation member, every listener to your podcast, every Moms Across America supporter should be very, very proud that they have had a part of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. being at the head of the HHS, and of this not just national, but internationally recognized movement.
Yeah.
Which, I'm getting people from Japan, from France, from the UK, from around the world that are saying, we're so glad that Kennedy got into the HHS. We're cheering for you. How are you guys doing this? What is happening? So it's something that we're very proud of on behalf of all the moms and parents who've been working very hard.
Absolutely. Now, some people say that Bobby and his team are just kind of political posturing, that they're just kind of talking heads that aren't making things happen. But have you seen, I believe I have, but I want to hear your point of view, some genuine inroads when it comes to, for example, changing our kids' lunches or the awareness in the public about ultra-processed foods and the food dyes and so forth?
So there are several states, Utah, West Virginia, Texas. There are several states that have actually passed laws that will remove food dyes and other type of other harmful chemicals, like California as well, out of the school lunches. This is amazing. And I have to say that every single person who's working on a state level is actually supporting this to happen on a federal level. So your work does make a difference, not just for your state and the children in your local school, but on a federal level, because that's the number one thing that we're hearing from this administration is, when you guys take action on a state level, that compels us on a federal level to also take action, because they don't want patchwork regulations, right? They want to have more a unification of regulation. Some ways that can be good things, some ways that could be not a good thing. But we do know that it does make a difference when activists pass laws on a state level. It does make a difference on a federal level as well. So there's been a credible amount of action happening there.
Yes.
And I don't know the exact number right now, but there are dozens of companies that have said we're going to remove food dyes by 2026 or 2027. So, and this is voluntarily. These are not bans.
Right.
This is voluntary action to remove food dyes from the food. And I have to say, it makes a big difference. We have moms and dads who have told us that their children, when they eat, for instance, red food dyes in the ice cream from the food truck on Fridays when grandma would come over, right? She would buy her son a strawberry shortcake ice cream from the food truck. Every Friday, that's when the son punched holes in the walls, had fits, got aggressive. And so we know that these red food dyes particularly cause aggression, and have seen this over and over again in our supporters. And so we have been advocating to eat organic food, because organic food not only is safer and there's less pesticides and all of that, but they don't allow these toxic food dyes. They don't allow them. So if you just eat organic, you're not getting exposed to these food dyes. And that's what we've been advocating for 13 years.
Right. But I love that, yes, moms across America, and I'm thinking of friends of ours like Vani Hari, the food babe, they've been advocating, not because they're out there buying Fruit Loops, but because so many people still are.
Yes.
And they're not going organic. So it's like, let's help them in any way we can. And making some shifts in the regular food supply might be a good place to start.
Yes, absolutely. And so, we're so grateful to Vani Hari's advocacy, the whole Food Babe Army, and many, many groups out there that are raising awareness, all the social media influencers that are getting the word out there. It's a very special tool that we have now. Social media really reaches, hundreds of millions of people in a day, given, the different influencers that are putting a word out. So please do share, comment, like all of that with your social media influencers that are raising awareness about these issues. It's very important.
What is it about this movement, though, that is making people angry or afraid?
Well, it's a lot. Every time you get on Instagram, I don't know about you, but it seems like almost every post is that some type of food is contaminated. It's like, what can we eat? It seems like we can't eat anything because it's all contaminated. So we've been a big part of contributing to that with the data and the information that we've been releasing. And it can be very overwhelming, and I understand that. But I think that it's more important to know the truth.
Yes.
And so we release the information and we give solutions, actions, things that you can do to resolve that issue. Sometimes it's challenging, though. We have new information. Can I give you some new information?
Yes, but let's go the order on first, because you did a study of school lunches, and what did you find was in the school lunch?
Yeah. So, first of all, Moms Across America initiated the first glyphosate testing in 2013, and you can go on our website and find all this information that I'm about to discuss. And that is, we found glyphosate in tap water, our children's urine, and in breast milk. And in breast milk, 3,000 times higher than has been shown to cause sex hormone changes and liver and kidney damage.
Oh my goodness.
And this was made into international news. In Europe, it was translated in 7 languages. And it's part of the reason why, from what I hear from activists in Europe who are amazing, that a lot of the farmers in France and Germany in particular stopped using glyphosate as a drying agent because they didn't want it to show up in their wives' breast milk. Yeah. And so they were very smart to do that. And that's why when you go to Europe, you can eat croissants and delicious pasta and breads and not get rashes and headaches like you do here in the United States.
And people are thinking, oh, I have these things because I'm gluten intolerant, but actually they're glyphosate intolerant, right?
They're reacting to glyphosate.
Yeah.
Nobody should be tolerant to glyphosate.
No.
It's not a glyphosate allergy, right? This reacting to glyphosate. So, so that is, that's part of the initial testing that we did. And then we branched out from testing all kinds of things, orange juice and milk and different various foods. Other organizations tested a lot of foods for glyphosate. And then we started testing for pesticides, heavy metals, veterinary drugs, and hormones, all types of vitamins and minerals and things like that. So yes, we did recently, within the past couple of years, test school lunches from 18 different locations, 43 different samples, and 93% of them were positive for glyphosate.
Oh my goodness.
And we tested fast food because fast food suppliers actually supplied in America, they supply the school lunches, which is horrible. I really think we could do better, but 100% of those fast food samples were positive for glyphosate. 100% of both of them were positive for heavy metals, some levels up to 6,900% higher than what has been deemed safe by the EPA in drinking water. And I have to say drinking water, not food, because the FDA doesn't regulate for heavy metals in food. The FDA only regulates baby food, applesauce, and candy for some heavy metals. They don't regulate our entire food supply for heavy metals at all.
Oh my.
Isn't that scary?
That's crazy.
And so we found very high levels of heavy metals in our fast food and our school lunches. We found veterinary drugs and hormones because the animals are given veterinary drugs as the hormones. And for instance, we found an aviary contraceptive in 4 school lunches and in Chick-fil-A sandwiches. And we found butanediol, which is a central nervous system drug, which actually causes combativeness and aggression. It's in the meat because it increases their meat, the muscle growth, but it also causes combativeness and aggression. So that is something that, the person driving the car next to you who has road rage could have just gone to Jack in the Box, is now jacked up on butanediol. It could be your kid's sports coach, could be your husband who's now, doing domestic abuse or child abuse. So there are some things going on in the American food supply that are completely outrageous. And if anybody were to say, oh, that was coming from a foreign country, we would call it chemical warfare. This is chemical warfare on our children and on our families. And for some reason, our government is allowing it. We recently we tested 14 children's samples for pesticides here in America, and 11 out of 14 had a banned chemical, a pesticide in it. It's called chlormequat. We were testing for diquat and paraquat because they're using more of that now instead of glyphosate.
Yes.
But chlormequat is highly toxic to the reproductive organs. And it was found in 11 out of 14 of the most popular children's cereal. And we looked at why, and we believe it's because in 2018, the regulations were loosened for imports. It's banned in the US for use, but the regulations were loosened so that imported grains could contain chlormequat. We don't know why that's happening.
Right.
But
trying to be buy a pasta off the shelf or some other product, some cookies from some other country, and
yes,
unwittingly be taking in these very, very strong chemicals that are harmful, that are
banned. Yeah, here in the United States. And here in the United States, we use 86 pesticides that have been banned in other countries. And so we are probably exporting a lot of grains and products to other countries where they've banned the chemicals, and we are still using it. And that could be really impinge upon foreign trade agreements. So I don't think that's advisable at all. I think we should not be using those pesticides at all.
But interestingly, in the latest MAHA Commission report, they kind of backpedal a little bit. And what I mean by that is they didn't call out these things that you're discussing right now, did they?
No, they didn't. I'm very sad about that. I think the MAHA Commission report is an amazing historic document. They address a dozen different environmental toxins. I mean, I would have been happy with them addressing one, right? So there's any amount of progress is extraordinary, and we're very, very grateful for it. And I think Bobby Kennedy is up against some incredibly powerful forces and is doing the very best he can. I have utmost respect for him. And there were 14 people on the commission report, and many of them have differing opinions, I'm sure, than he does. And he had to, I'm sure, make some compromises. And I'm sure the 14 people on the panel are also getting information from the very, hugely powerful chemical companies that may also be, influencing in untoward ways. I don't know. But the MAHA Commission report failed to mention glyphosate and atrazine. And they did in the first report, they did not in the second report. And to me, that is a glaring example of chemical company corruption. So I'm very disappointed that the two most widely used herbicides in the world were not mentioned. And I'd also hope to see some sort of mention of the fact that glyphosate could be in vaccines. 9 years ago, Moms Across America tested 5 childhood vaccines and found glyphosate in every single one of them. And we tested this because one day on Facebook, social media, I saw the ingredients of vaccines. Somebody just posted the ingredients of vaccines. And to be honest with you, my son was 9 years old, almost fully vaccinated. I had never read them. I'd never read the ingredients.
Wow.
I just trusted my doctor. And I gave him the vaccines that were supposed to happen at the childhood wellness schedule, which is sometimes 5 of them in one shot. So, 3 diseases in one.
Yeah.
It's a lot, right? But I trusted my doctor, and my son had those vaccines. He also had 20 different food allergies. He had febrile seizures. He had gluten intolerance and, all kinds of autoimmune issues. And so when I saw the ingredients, which were bovine serum, chicken serum, so there was some sucrose or fructose, different types. I was like, wait a second, those are ingredients derived from animals that would be eating GMO grains, which are sprayed with glyphosate. We all know 80% of GMOs are engineered to withstand glyphosate, which is Roundup, and it doesn't wash, dry, or cook off entirely. It absorbs into the grains. So that means there's probably glyphosate in these vaccines. So I sent 5 childhood vaccines to be tested for glyphosate, and every single one of them was positive.
Wow.
And statistically, this is not likely. We sent 20 samples of Pediasure feeding tube liquid that children get when they have cancer to be tested for glyphosate, and 6 of them were positive. So not every single one of them. Do you see what I'm saying? Yes. So I expected if glyphosate was in there, it would have been maybe 1 vaccine.
Oh my goodness.
But it was every single one of them. And the one that had the highest levels, which was 25 times higher than the other vaccines, was the MMR vaccine.
Coming up, Zen explains why the MMR vaccine has such high amounts of glyphosate in it, and she compares that ratio to what's in other vaccines. She also tells the heartbreaking story of her son's death, going over the key factors that she is convinced influenced his taking his own life.
You're listening to the Wise Traditions podcast from the Weston A. Price Foundation. We pause now to recognize our sponsors.
American Blossom Linens. Sleep soundly and wake refreshed. Experience the soft, crisp, quality feel of the American Blossom Linens heirloom chemical-free bedding. Made completely in the USA, just like the sheets your grandma had. American Blossom Linens is made by Thomaston Mills, a family-owned bedding manufacturer that's been operating and making products since 1899. Their cotton is grown in the U.S. and then spun, woven, finished, sewn, and packaged right here by your friends and neighbors. Check out their many offerings: sheets, towels, blankets, pillows, duvets, duvet inserts, baby blankets, and crib sheets, all made in the U.S. from cotton and wool, natural fibers that greatly enhance your sleep experience. Foreign sheets made of synthetic fibers and filled with chemicals travel sometimes over 8,000 miles to get to you, which is not good for you or the environment. With over 2,500 5-star reviews, American Blossom Linens products are loved by many, including Angela and Shay from Homemaker Chic and Josh and Carolyn from Homesteading Family. Plus, you all can get free shipping on everything. Order with confidence, also knowing that you will have their 2-year happiness guarantee. If you are not happy with your purchase for any reason, simply return it for a refund. So go to AmericanBlossomLinens.com and use the code WISE for 20% off today. Again, that's AmericanBlossomLinens.com and use the code WISE for 20% off. And Lumerim. You may already be purifying your water, purifying your air, but what about your light? Not only do most light bulbs today emit harsh flicker, EMF, and unnatural isolated peaks in blue light, they're also not great at doing what a light is intended for, helping you see. Most full-spectrum lights on the market today also lack a critical piece of the light spectrum, infrared energy. They're nothing at all like sunlight in constitution, and your body knows it, enhancing people's lives and the spaces they live in. Since it was first created in Finland over 60 years ago, Chromolux is the original neodymium glass full spectrum light bulb, a unique non-LED light. LED light source that simulates the sunlight by purifying the visible light spectrum. Unlike those ordinary, harsh, and frankly uninspiring light bulbs, the Chromolux full spectrum lamp creates a soothing yet vibrant interior space that you'll love to live, work, and play under. The light of Chromolux is equal parts healthy and beautiful, and it's so nourishing and colorfully pure as sunlight. These beautiful bulbs have little blue light and are naturally low in flicker. The real magic lies in their special neodymium glass composition, which purifies light and creates better contrast and definition between colors, tones, and textures. Chromolux light embodies the essence of seeing life in full color. See better, feel better. That's actually been Lumerim's motto for over 60 years, and for good reason. Unlike harsh artificial lighting that can strain the eyes and dampen the spirit, the natural light of Chromolux does as all light should, provide a pure, vibrant light to help you see better and feel better. If you want to feel the uplifting difference a simple light bulb can make in your life, give Chromolux light bulbs a try and use the code WISE for 10% off your order. Again, go to healthlighting.com and the code WISE for 10% off. That's healthlighting.com. This is Hilda Labrada Gore, and you're listening to Wise Traditions.
And the MMR vaccine is the one that Andy Wakefield was vilified for, lost his career because he attributed that vaccine to gut dysbiosis, right? He didn't say that the MMR vaccine caused autism. He said it caused gut dysbiosis, which is extremely prevalent, maybe even across the board prevalent in children with autism. And the interesting thing about that is that the MMR vaccine is a live virus. So it has to have 25% of that vaccine has to be gelatin. Gelatin comes from where? Case, pigs eat what? GMO grain sprayed with glyphosate. And we know from Monica Kruger's study from Germany that glyphosate goes into tendons, muscles, bone marrow, and remains in the animal. So we believe that glyphosate is in the childhood vaccines, especially MMR vaccines, because of the high percentage of gelatin in that vaccine. And then another lab tested for another man, Anthony Samsell, tested 14 childhood vaccines for glyphosate and found glyphosate present in 12 of them. And the MMR vaccine had 34 times the amount of glyphosate in that vaccine. So we both found that, his testing corroborated ours. And the terrible thing about glyphosate being in vaccine is, of course, that just doesn't sound like a good idea, right?
Right.
And the way glyphosate functions is that it breaks through the blood-brain barrier. It's also a chelator, meaning it can grab onto the aluminum that's in the vaccines or in our food, other heavy metals, other toxins, any environmental toxin, and it can chelate and grab it and deposit into the brain,
kind of escorting it into places where it can cause more havoc.
Yes, it like breaks down the dam and allows the toxins in. And Dr. Christopher Exley, who also has been vilified, has found higher levels of aluminum in particular parts of the brain of children with autism, deceased patients with autism, and adults with Alzheimer's. And so he says that aluminum is causational in causing autism and Alzheimer's. And I would say it's in conjunction with glyphosate being present in vaccines and in our food. And the opposition would probably love to negate this information. However, their own lead toxicologist, Monsanto's own lead toxicologist, Dr. Donna Farmer, said that they don't test she was asked, do you test the final formulation of glyphosate? Do you test the final formulation of Roundup? And she said, oh, no, we don't run the studies on the final formulation because we did that one time and the formulation, the rats have very delicate stomach linings and the Roundup tore up the stomach linings and the rats died. And you can't do studies on animals that die. So we did studies only on the one ingredient, glyphosate. And the only way that showed harm was when it was injected. And we all know it's not injected.
Oh my goodness, she's actually said this. She's gone on record saying this.
Yes.
Not even realizing that
she's causes harm when it's injected. And now we know it's injected. And by the way, when they say studies, they mean toxic short-term studies. They don't require the long-term studies. So Monsanto's own lead toxicologist admitted that glyphosate causes harm when it's injected. So I believe that this is one of the primary reasons for the autism epidemic in America. And we gave this information to this administration.
Good.
And they said they were going to follow up and test for glyphosate in vaccines. And I was hoping that information would be in the MAHA report, but it was not. Maybe it may still be pending.
No, because I think they said, or Kennedy said in September, they were going to give a report about.
Yeah, so by the time this comes out, perhaps there will be more information. But right now, we don't have that information. And we've been waiting 9 years for someone in any administration to do anything about this.
Right.
It's difficult to sleep sometimes because we know the amount of chemicals that our kids are being impacted by.
Absolutely. And you're speaking from experience too, I know.
Yeah, my own son, my eldest son, the one that was the reason for starting Moms Across America with this life-threatening allergies, the one that I did give almost all of the vaccines to, he did get better when we fed him all organic food. He ate all organic except for a little bit of Chipotle for 10 years. And his health issues got better. He didn't have to go to a doctor for any type of, allergy or chronic autoimmune issue or anything like that. However, he chose to eat vegan, despite the fact that I disagreed with that. And he read the book How Not to Die when he was 14 by Mike McGregor. And he decided that for health reasons primarily. He also watched the movie Sukja, which is about a GMO pig, and you kind of get very attached to the pig, and they show a slaughterhouse and all that. So he didn't like that, but he decided to go vegan, and so he was vegan for 7 years, and the levels in his body of the toxins that I believe were primarily from the vegan diet, I believe are what led to his mental health issues and suicide ideation. And that sounds very disturbing. So I'm going to tell you a little bit more about what we know. We got functional medicine testing, extensive testing the year before he passed because I sensed a change in his mood and behavior. And I had heard that people who eat vegan diets often can go into depression. And so I tried to preempt that and get testing done. And we did find that he had high levels of thallium. Thallium is a heavy metal that's industrial. It's also a tasteless poison that can be used criminally to poison, kill people. I don't know or believe that that's what actually happened, because I do know that it can be found in leafy greens, and Ben ate a huge salad of leafy greens every day. So that may be the source of where he got the thallium from. Thallium can cause DNA breakage and mental illness. He also had very high levels of mycotoxins. Mycotoxins are very commonly found in beans, and he ate 2 cans of beans every day because he was not eating meat. He also had very high levels of candida, which he was taking because he had very high levels of candida. And we believe that's because he was taking yeast as a nutritional supplement because he wasn't getting B12 from meat. So he was getting the B12 from the yeast. And candida can lead to mental illness and suicide ideation. Sure. He also had high levels of DDT, and we don't know why that was. That's a chemical that's been banned for decades.
Yeah.
And it can be very toxic. And so we don't know why that was. And he also had very low levels of cholesterol, which can lead to hormone changes and, lack of production of testosterone and feeling depressed. And low levels of other vitamins too, like vitamin D and E and iron and different things like that. And he did have glyphosate in his body as well. And glyphosate is very problematic, not just because of the toxic harmful effects, as I mentioned in vaccines, but it reduces the nutrient uptake into the roots and shoots of plants by 80 to 95%.
It gets in the way. You got to forget it where you're good at it.
Yes, it's a key layer. So it blocks the nutrients in the food, and therefore you don't get the nutrients that help your brain function, that help your organs work. And so you had these very low levels of nutrients in food that normally should be quite nutrient dense. So he wasn't getting the nutrients that his body needed as well. Glyphosate also, back to the mycotoxins, causes the production of mycotoxins in our crops. Glyphosate at very low levels has been shown to cause the production of aspergillus And as the byproduct of aspergillus, which is a mold, is mycotoxins. And the mycotoxins have been connected with, again, mental health issues and depression and suicide ideation. So glyphosate, even at drift level only, reduces the nutrient uptake by 80 to 95%, and very low levels also cause the growth of mycotoxins.
Well, you mean drift level only, like coming from another farmer's farm?
Yes, so drift level only exposure of glyphosate reduces the nutrient uptake into the crop by 80 to 95%. So that means we cannot make America healthy again with any use of glyphosate. This is why I am so upset that glyphosate was not mentioned in the MAHA Commission report. It's crucial. Yeah, it's crucial that glyphosate is discontinued for use if we want to make America healthy again. And the powers that be are fighting this. And I understand that it would be very inconvenient for farmers, but I assert that suicide and cancer and our children's chronic health issues are extremely inconvenient as well.
Oh my gosh, 100%. And I did see as a commission report, they were talking about moving or transitioning farmers over to organic farming, which I hope would mean they would discontinue the use of glyphosate.
Yeah, so I was very happy to see the focus on supporting more organic farming. I think that, as well as the formation of task force that are going to study environmental impacts on our children, you cannot study environmental impacts without studying glyphosate. It's the most widely used herbicide in the world. So I think there are indications on the report that there will be further testing and, research and policies perhaps made regarding glyphosate, but we have to, I believe that the key to that is to supporting farmers to transition to regenerative organic first, having things in place that support them so that they really feel that they can make a living, and do things like the wonderful movie Warning, the French organic food revolution gives us an actual template. It gives us a template. And in that movie, in a very small town in Barjac, the mayor just saw the spraying of orchards with chemicals, and he saw the children getting cancer, and he decided to shift the money to the chemical farmers, to the schools, and say the schools, this is for organic food. So then he created a marketplace, right, a guaranteed marketplace of organic food, and the farmers switched to organic, and the children were able to have access to organic food. So I would like to see that type of solution here,
yes,
in the United States, and I would like to see our children, whether they eat vegan, vegetarian, paleo, keto, carnivore, or just a good old-fashioned varied diet, incorporating meat and eggs and fish and vegetables and whole foods. That those types of foods are nutrient dense and they are non-toxic. And that would require regulation. That would require accountability and responsibility and testing to ensure that our foods do not have heavy metals, mycotoxins, and pesticides.
Right.
That's and veterinary drugs and hormones. Right. And that you can't just trust that it's okay or just assume that it's okay. You have to verify. You have to trust and verify. And then that's what needs to happen. And I do trust that the farmers can shift.
Yes.
Because they're ingenious and because we have evidence of thousands of years of generations of farmers farming without toxic chemicals, without GMOs. So I do believe that the farmers can do it. And I do also believe that they need support, and we don't need to be giving the $90 billion to GMO monocrop chemical farmers. We need to shift that to transition to organic farm.
So we've got to start wrapping up, but I want to ask you, because you were going to a moment ago show us some new information.
Yes, absolutely. So
what does that? We'll do it. A new study.
So new testing. We have conducted some new testing. We did glyphosate, heavy metals, and pesticides. Well, we only have the glyphosate results back right now on USA, UK, French, and German cereals. And the results are very disturbing. France's Nestle Cookie Crisp cereal tested at 732 parts per billion. That's more than 7,300 times higher than levels that have been shown to cause organ damage and sex hormone disruption.
Oh my goodness.
732 parts per billion of glyphosate in a French children's cereal. And the UK Quaker Oat cereal contained 513 parts per billion of glyphosate, and that's over 500,000 times higher than known to cause harm levels of harm. And that is extremely disturbing as well. The U.S. cereals were contaminated as well. There were some organic options, Cascadia Farms, and another one that were positive for the organic versions were positive for glyphosate.
Meaning they had high levels of
Glyphosate, yes. Your 2 organic cereals, you can still find them on our website, had high levels of glyphosate. And these levels, like for instance, the Nestle Cookie Crisp in France, the 732 is 7 times higher than their maximum residue level that's allowed in France. So that's an illegal level of glyphosate in their children's cereal. And we were very surprised because we thought that France and Germany, and now Germany had very low levels. So we were glad to see that.
Yeah.
There was only one that had about 50 parts per billion.
Yeah.
But we were disturbed to find any amount of glyphosate in the cereals in France and Germany. We'd hoped there would be none. Like it's saying, look what they're doing. How are they doing it? And we're not doing that. And, how can we follow their example? But we don't know if those grains were imported, right, to France to make those cereals. We don't know. Those grains were being sprayed illegally, or if there's drift level, that's happening. We don't know, but clearly more testing needs to be done, and we have a global glyphosate problem.
Yes. So for the regular person, someone listening right now who's like, oh my gosh, they're shaking their head, they're like me, they're gasping, they're like, I can't believe this is happening. Is there something we can do, so apart from just eating organic, for a family to advocate for more awareness and more testing and so forth, as you're suggesting?
Yes. So what they can do is to eat less processed foods, less cereals, more breakfast is one. They can eat more, eggs, meat, proteins for breakfast. The Japanese people eat vegetables a lot, but they eat fermented foods for breakfast. And
But also, how can we advocate? Like, what can we do? Who can we contact? Like, I know that there was a protest in front of Kellogg's, last winter. Like, is that the sort of thing we need to do? Or
so we need to contact our senators and our representatives, and we need to let them know that the use of glyphosate and these toxic herbicides and chemicals are just no longer acceptable. They need to hear from us. They're hearing from lobbyists, chemical company lobbyists. They're hearing from farmers. They're hearing from people who, just make a lot of money from this chemical system, this agrochemical system. And so that needs to change. And I think that it's not really going to change until more people, unfortunately, experience harm in their families. And so, I want to circle back to the mental illness and the depression and my son's, decision to take his own life. I really believe that would not have happened if he didn't have these toxins in his body. But finding them means that we can raise awareness with other people. And I want every vegan to know that there are massive risks with limiting your diet in that way. There are very beneficial elements of meat and dairy and eggs, as the Western Aid Price Foundation advocates for, that are crucial to the way your brain functions and the way your hormones impact your organs and allow your body to work. And I'm very angry that vegans are not being told this information. And they're also not being advised to get their blood levels tested for these vitamins and these minerals. And across the board, I'm very angry that food in general in the United States and around the world is not being regulated for these heavy metals and toxins and pesticides. They're not testing. And if I can spend a couple $1,000s and test and find these things in food or in my son's body, anybody can. The federal government, for sure, that has the $7.2 billion budget for the FDA, can test and identify, find the source, and take steps to eliminate these foreign food. These types of situations are unnecessary, needless early deaths. And it has to stop.
Yeah, I'm so thankful that you've spoken up. I'm so sorry for the loss of your son. And I'm grateful that you are a passionate activist on behalf of all of our children and really future generations. So I'm really thankful for that. So thank you for speaking to us today. I want to ask you the question I always ask at the end, and you've probably already answered it, Zen, but if the listener could do one thing to improve their health, what would you recommend that they do if they could just do one day?
Yeah, I would still say eat organic. But maybe I should add one thing to that, which is get tested. Find out, get your what's in your body. What type of minerals, vitamins, heavy metals, toxins, pesticides. Find out what's in your body and then detox. That was it. The problem with my son, he did not believe in supplements. He thought you could get all of your nutrients from food. He did not believe in supplements, so even when we found the toxins in his body, he wouldn't detox. I thought he was taking the supplements and he wasn't. So, find out what's in your body and then take the actions necessary to supplement for your body or to change your diet and do what's necessary, because we have to stop assuming that everything's just going to be okay and that, the food will sort it out and nutrients will magically show up in our food. And as we've told you with the testing, the school lunch or the fast food testing, back to that, the lab said there were more toxins than nutrients in that food.
More toxins than nutrients.
We have a nutrient-deficient junk food diet in America. Even though the farmers want to feed the world, even though they're farming as best they can, drift level exposure of glyphosate alone is causing 80 to 95 less nutrients in our food supply. So we are eating junk food. And we cannot expect for our brains to function, our organs to function, our bodies and our hormones and all of that to operate with 80 to 95% less nutrients.
Right.
We just can't.
We're shortchanging our bodies.
Yeah, we have to speak up. We have to tell our elected officials we cannot continue to allow glyphosate and other toxic chemicals to be used as a drying agent on our crops or on our foods altogether. We have to push for whole, organic, non-toxic, nutrient-dense food in our schools. We have the Safe School Meals Coalition that we've done it with several other groups. You can come on our Moms Connect calls on Monday nights and join us on those Safe School Meal Coalition calls. And lastly, I know you only said one who I'm saying, what good things. But lastly, I would ask everybody to be present with your loved ones.
Absolutely.
And just, spend 20 minutes a day just looking into their eyes and talking with them, finding out how they are and listening to them. I think that would go a long way in preventing mental health issues. Day 2.
Thank you, Zen. Our guest today was Zen Honeycutt. Visit her website, momsacrossamerica.com, to learn more. And I am Hilda Labrada-Gore, the host and producer of this podcast on behalf of the Weston A. Price Foundation. You can find me at holistichilda.com. And for the transcript for today's episode, visit our website, westonaprice.org, and click on the podcast page. And a reminder that you can find this podcast on your favorite podcast app. As a matter of fact, click on follow so you don't miss a thing. And thank you so much for listening, my friend. Stay well, and remember to keep your feet on the ground and your face to the sun.
On behalf of the Weston A. Price Foundation, thanks for listening. We have many free resources to support you on your health journey. Visit westonaprice.org to find podcasts, articles, videos, and more. You can also find a local chapter near you for help in finding sources of great food. We invite you to support the Foundation's mission of education, research, and activism by becoming a member. Thanks again, and take care. Wise Traditions is a project of the Weston A. Price Foundation for wise traditions in food, farming, and the healing arts. The content on this podcast is provided for informational purposes only and is not intended to substitute for the advice provided by your doctor or other healthcare professional. It is not intended to be, nor does it constitute healthcare or medical advice.